And next we will have a panel discussion on cross-country, cross-border investments. And Claes, Mikko will take care of the hosting of this one. Have a good one.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kim. Good day, everybody. Hope you had a good Arctic15 so far. Now we're going to have a very, very exciting discussion about angels and cross-border investing. So my name is Claes Nilsen. I work as the network manager for Finnish Business Angels Network, one of the largest and most active angel networks we have here in Europe. And today with me, I will have an exciting panel of three very experienced and international angel investors. So please join me on stage. We have Kaushal Chokshi, Inka Mero, and Carman joining on stage. Please be seated and let's give a big applause to the panelists. And Kaushal here today, all the way from San Francisco, one of the most global angels I know, been actively around investing and being part of a scale, and so far you've been to Slush a few times. This is your first at Arctic15, warmly welcome. And resulting from Slush, you've made 3 angel investments in Finnish companies, so heads up all the companies here in Finland. Then we have Inka Mero, one of our most visible and active angel investors here in Finland, being active from the corporation background. Pivot 5 is the current with a large of the most active startups at this stage in Finland, so warmly welcome as well. And then from directly with a private boat from Estonia, Tallinn. We're really glad to have Carman coming over. As you said, you're dressed up as it would be slush in November. So we have the combination of sunglasses of the Finnish angel attitude, it's summer, and then all the way from Hong Kong we have a little more warm outfit. So, but anyway, really glad to have you here with you're running out currently Click Ventures is the current, done over 20 angel investments, of which you just got, or 30 angel investments, with 17 of those are cross-border. Okay, so we're going to have an interesting discussion. The 3 themes you can prepare yourself in. We're going to start with what is the situation of cross-border investing. Then we're going to do a little bit what is an ideal investment target from an angel perspective to be done cross-borderly, and thirdly, how can an entrepreneur prepare him or herself for being more attractive for cross-border investing. So these 3 themes, feel free to do some Twitter commenting with the hashtag Arctic15, we'll be reacting for that. But, so the level of angel investing, typically business angels, private individuals investing their own money, time, sweat. Why on earth would they be doing angel investing? Well, love of the game, they want to be part of building something new, and that's why we have it. But what has changed? The classic is that angel invests in a company that is a 2-hour drive away from home. Well, that has changed. Startups have become global, also the angels have become more global. The situation alone in Finland, that over 37 million euros was invested last year by angels. We expected it altogether is about 60, 70. In Europe alone, it's a 5 billion investment activity by the angels. So cross-border investing is a natural part of that. So let's see here the panelists, what your views are about it. Let's start with Kaushal. You flew in from San Francisco and been to Tallinn, seen latitude. What would you say is your view of making cross-border investing?
So I think, what are the... Whoop. Hello? Is okay? Yeah.
Yes. Good.
So I think, for the first time, I think I looked at the cross-border investment was in 2010. I went to about 15 countries and met 300 startups. And what I realized that innovation was happening everywhere. And they did not have the right ecosystem to be successful, like you have in the hotspot like Silicon Valley and everything. So that's why we started the Cross-Border Angels, is that we can have this people who are anywhere in the world, but if they get the smart money from around the world, in that case, they can have the same shot, like a company in Silicon Valley. So I think the main goal was to come to create a smart global investor, a group of smart global investors.
Just a second. Is it something we can do with the voice? You have to speak up, so please keep it closer to your mouth.
Closer? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So created this in a group of smart global investors, and then entrepreneurs can get the money from various countries where there could be new market, there could be new potential talent play, and so that's how we created this group. And I think, right now we have invested in about 12 companies in the past, but right now we're closing 1 or 2 deals a month. And what we are seeing around the world is that the investors are also spread around the world, and they don't have the right deal flow either. So this month, I think we have done about 10 city pitch events. This year, we are doing about 60 in around 60 cities. So we are seeing that, from US to all the way to Mauritius to China, that there are investors who are interested in investing in cool companies around the world. And I think, this is a revolution is just getting started. If you think about it, the total VC and angel investment total globally is about $150 billion. So the angel investment is only about $30-40 billion.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a drop in the bucket in a $75 trillion economy, right? So I think if we go beyond local, if we go cross-border, I think that asset class which we are talking about can be a massive, transformation.
Exactly. All right. Let's see. Can I react to that? Perfect. Thank you. Let's get this microphone. Inka, you had a comment on that as well.
Yeah, I was just kind of giving a perspective why this cross-border angel investing is growing. I think the biggest derivative is not the capital available and not even necessarily the amount of startups in the market, because now we have like growing startup scene. But it's mainly also, it's not money, but it's mainly time. If you think about any traditional venture capitalists, which has a small team, they have very limited amount of time to go through these seed investment opportunities. And I think that's an area where cross-border and angel syndicates really play a competitive advantage. You have an experienced seed investor like we have in Pivot 5, a group of people. We've started syndicating from the very beginning. So having that capacity to go through the early stage deals and then syndicate with international angels is really something that can be done better compared to the VCs.
Very good. We just had, for example, from the UK perspective, a lot of angel activity in the UK. And what we just got the statistic that was it over 20% of the angel investments in the UK, they're already cross-border. And the interest from the private individuals to make these kind of cross-border investments are already there, and it's growing. It's more like 60-70% at this stage. So huge amounts. So a lot of potential for startups to look outside their own area, and of course for the investors to, as mentioned earlier, to broaden up. What about Carman, yourself as well? You've been also active all around globally, 30 investments yourself. How do you see the situation for cross-border investing?
So I think one of the reasons why cross-border investing is more common now is because of the startup themselves. They are more global compared to the startup many years ago. So in my own portfolio, we have around 30 startups, and a lot of them are not just in one city anymore. So they may have their development team like Teslio, my investment in Estonia. They have their development team in Estonia, and they have their sales team in San Francisco. And I also have some startup, they have a different team in different city for different purpose. So startup nowadays, they are much more global compared to before, since day one. So that's why for them to expand to other market or for them to have a presence in other cities, it's better for them to have an investor from different countries to help them to have a soft landing locally.
Yes. What about as you're part of you're running the Hong Kong Angel Network and one of those actives. So let's say, for example, from the Hong Kong Angel, would you see that they do a cross-border syndicate as individuals or as a group? For example, for Kaushal or Inka in a group of angels, how would you see that happening? What would you introduce to your colleagues in Hong Kong?
I found that at the moment, not all the investors are ready for the cross-border investing yet, but I have seen some investors like us, are starting to do the cross-border very actively. So there's a learning curve for everybody to start to do the cross-border investing.
Yes. Yes.
In what we are doing right now is that there are two different ways we are doing the investment. One is a much larger investment, $1 million plus, and there are family offices. They invest like an angel at an angel level. But for smaller investment, we are also creating special purpose vehicles. So we create a vehicle in London or Singapore, Hong Kong, and now we are going to try in Estonia also. And so the smaller investor can invest through the special purpose vehicle. So we had one special purpose vehicle where 10 of us invested $50,000 each on a predetermined company. There were a predetermined company, these are the companies which we wanted to invest in.
Yeah.
And the investors were from Spain, UK, US, and India.
Yes.
That's a very valid point. If you think about the slush syndicates that we've done, there's a special purpose vehicle, but there's also something else. There's someone who's really looking after for that investment. So there's a lead angel, which, for example, in Bridley's case was Riku Asikainen, the former FIBAN chairman. So it's not just about the vehicle. You basically need to have something. What we've done, we've actually started to work in this Nordic-Baltic hub. So we've invited, Danish angels to come over to meet our startups in our portfolio, or we've gone to see companies in Estonia or in Sweden. And it's mainly also among the, trust, how the, angels work. Nordics and Baltics, it's quite predictable still, but let's take an example of Tanzania. How could I invest into a very interesting startup in Tanzania, where I was, by the way, and I saw super interesting companies? There isn't really a platform or vehicle for that yet, and mainly because the local high-quality angel network is still missing.
Yes. Well, as you mentioned, the slush syndicates, there were 50 angels investing relatively untypical angel because they didn't really know what they were investing in. So a bad example in that sense, but then again, a good potential as the winner slush, as the same as Arctic15 has their own competition tomorrow, which has an angel syndicate, that the possibility is much larger to have a winner one. But as you mentioned, Nordics, and compared, for example, to Hong Kong angels, it's a big challenge to make angels invest together as a syndicate. At least the culture in Finland is still a little bit, I would like to do it alone, or should I do it together with others? Why should I share this awesome case? So what do you see, Inka, the possibility that would you rather invest in the Nordics where you know the culture, or would you be open to invest in a co-investment in a Hong Kong angel group as well? And what would that require?
Yeah, well, absolutely, we would be open, because for the last 8 years we've syndicated the deals for every single company that is in our portfolio.
Everything.
Yeah, but only, let's say, 5 to 6 of them are cross-border investments. But still, every single kind of a deal has been a lot of various kinds of syndications. And yes, absolutely, we would be interested. The question in a way is like, I think tax implications is one. How do you handle that part of the investment? So what is really the vehicle that you investment through? And more like, who is really looking after the value growth of the company? Kind of who represents the angel syndicate owner in that startup?
Yes. So the entrepreneurs should see that it's a growing number, that it's a lesser amount of individual angels investing alone. More and more together, and even more amount is done cross-border. Yes.
So I think, as we know, that an angel investment is always local, right? So because we know we provide the mentorship, we trust factor. So one of our biggest challenge in the cross-border investment is how do you create this trust at a global level? When you're working with so much virtually. Also, the other challenge would be the due diligence. You go through that, due diligence. So, few things which we are doing is, one is that we always invest co-invest with the local investor, because we need a validation from somebody local that they have validated the company and they are prepared to invest again with us.
Yes.
So usually we come in a little late stage round, because really going global is a growth business, not at the seed level.
Yeah.
You can have to plan at a seed level, but I think we come into a play with a much bigger 2-3 rounds down the road for the growth. The second is the jurisdiction, right? So for example,
could you repeat that? What was that?
The jurisdiction.
Yes.
jurisdiction. So for example, investing in Tanzania would be very difficult, right? Because there are the laws, we don't know how does it relate to transparency issue, what happens when the exit happens, right? What about the double taxation treaty? And all those, there are a lot of complicated area here. So we will ask the company to form a company in a neutral place where we like.
Yes.
Either Singapore or Delaware or Estonia or whatever, and then have the subsidiary, the company which is back home, they can be a subsidiary company, so they can continue doing business the way they are doing, but the IP is parked in an international parent company, and we will invest in those parent companies.
Very good.
That's why it has to be a scaling business. You can't do this at a very early stage.
As you mentioned the two elements for your criteria. So a local co-investor, and then again the juridical. It should be easy to fit and to be played with the rules. So this is something for the entrepreneurs to consider. Well, let's take from what is the ideal case to do cross-border investments. Carman, you have 17 companies that you've done overseas together with all around. So do you see any familiarities with the companies you invested in? What are the criteria? What do you see as a suitable cross-border angel investment case?
In our case, we have around 30 companies that we invest, and among the 30 companies, 70% is cross-border. So usually it's the investor in different countries, they invite us and share the deal flow with us. The reason is they also want to have a local partner. So after we invest in these companies, we help them to expand to Asia and connect to our resources.
Yeah. So there has to be international Asian interest, at least for the startups.
So usually the company that we invest, they are a more global company from day one. So they already have a global strategy, and maybe they're a mobile app company, and they already have presence in more than 10 countries. And the investor profile is also like they at least have 5 to 10 investors from different countries, supporting the future growth of the company.
Yeah. What is the level of funding that should be minimum raised? Are we talking about 100,000 euros, 10,000? Because the medium angel investment in Finland per investor per round is 20,000 euros. 20,000 euros per one angel per round. So it's quite a small, but normal ticket size is around 100 to 200,000 locally. So how do you see it from the cross-border of the investments you make? What is the sizes?
So it would be depends on the stage of the company. If the company is in seed stage, they are raising something like 500K to $1 million US. So each investor, we call them strategic investor. So some of the investors can have the ticket size as little as 50K US dollar to provide strategic value. And if it's a Series A company, so the ticket size would usually be a little bit bigger. Each investor needs to have at least around $1 million US ticket.
Very good. What about Inka?
I think you addressed one key criteria already, which is that very seed stage companies which are still working on their MVP or product market fit necessarily aren't the ones for the cross-border investing. They're usually the companies which are a little bit further in the seed stage. So they already have some traction, they're growing globally, they might have global developer base, for example, like a company called Proximio, which is in our portfolio, and the Danish kind of an angel syndicate joined that. So they kind of have already traction, which is global, as you mentioned. Yeah. The other thing which I would emphasize as a criteria is really the team and particularly the CEO, in a sense that you kind of need to be quite, global trotter, in a sense that you need to be able to come along with various cultures and understand how do you communicate the business and so forth. So I would say really the stage a little bit beyond, early seed, and then the CEO.
Yeah. What about Kaushal?
There is one exception to that. I agree with both.
Speak up.
I agree with both that it should be global. There are various entry points. For large family offices, $1 million plus. That's what we also do. But there is one exception is a Diaspora Investment.
They are, sorry?
Is a Diaspora Investment.
Yes. Very.
Right? So for example, last year, non-resident Indians sent back India $70 billion.
70 billion.
$70 billion. I just want 2% of that to be channelized through our asset class. Now, if you know the country, if you understand the rule, then you can invest anything, right?
Yeah.
Even 25,000 will be fine because you are comfortable with the country. You may know the people, or you may know you have, every Indian has at least 100 cousins back home. So that is an exception for Diaspora Investment.
Very good.
But I think, we talked about the entrepreneur side, but there is a tremendous advantage on the investor side also at an angel level, right?
Yeah.
Because first of all, you're diversifying your risk because you are now, in various markets. Second, you're also creating a tremendous collective intelligence, because it applies a global context. So if you're going to fund a company here in Finland, but you don't know the global context, and then as a part of the group, that maybe there are 15 countries, 15 same people are doing everywhere else.
Yes.
So I think that global context is extremely critical for the future of investment.
Yes.
Everything is changing so fast around us that it's impossible to have that much intelligence at one place.
Yes.
So I think by co-investing internationally and in working with like-minded super angels or angels, it really opens up, and my day is very exciting.
Yeah.
Around the world, what I see, what is happening.
Exactly. Well, it sounds like cross-border angel investing is quite changing the game when as in India, 70 billion available from individual funds and resources for making an investment. So compared to the VCs, where you have one phone number and you're calling one person who is evaluating, maybe putting the same amount of money, but now suddenly you have to be prepared to be handling several investors of angel level. So what should the entrepreneur consider? It seems like a lot of phone calls. It's a massive amount of like a spaghetti. How do you handle that kind of information? For example, Inka, yeah.
I think you can overcomplicate it, or then you can just simplify it. Just sending, one of our portfolio companies sends this bi-weekly email to the investors where they basically list that what they've accomplished, what they've not accomplished, where they're going to go to focus during the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Everyone is super happy. So sometimes entrepreneurs start to communicate very actively to their investors when they're running out of money. When they're good with the money, they forgot their investors. So I think it's just a simple way of keeping people updated. I don't think it requires extra bureaucracy. Anything else, of course, like these legal processes which every company has.
Very good. Did you also have a comment on that?
And we have an online platform, so we take the process as much as possible, but then but we can also channelize the companies, to the right investors. So yeah, sometimes it'll be a 3 a.m. call because, you're talking to an investor in China or US or somewhere. But I think the quality of these meetings are much more, because when you go in an open-ended, presentation, we don't know how many people are interested in that group. We have an ability to channelize country-specific, vertical-specific, and size-specific.
Yeah.
So a lot of phone calls on a one-to-one basis also in our case.
Right.
Actually, most of the investors are quite busy. So we seldom find that investor keep calling the entrepreneur. And in our case, most of our entrepreneurs, they provide regular updates. So they will have an email with very detailed what is the strategy that they are using, what they have learned, what is the matrix. And then in the bottom of the email, it will be what kind of help they need. So they will list out what they want from the investors. And I read all this information, so if I see something that I got resources that I can help, I will just return an email to them. So it's very scalable, actually.
Very. Okay, we're getting finalized with the panel, but just quickly, the perspective as we're talking about when a cross-border, a lot of players overboard. So Carman, these 17 companies you done cross-border, so were all those, who was the person linking everybody together? Was it, in what case it was the entrepreneur linking cross-border investors together, or is it always you as the investor representing the entrepreneur, building that cross-border link of angels?
Case.
Sorry.
So, different situation, different case. So
Okay.
sometimes it's the investor invite us. Sometimes it's the investor heard about us and then ask the entrepreneur to contact us.
Okay.
Yeah, so different situation.
Yeah, so it varies, so there's no best. Okay, so let's take in the end for the entrepreneurs some model for how should they be better prepared. What do you consider that, how can the entrepreneur make themselves more cross-border point of view investor ready? And you mentioned already the team, the team should be looking for globally already, but other aspects that you would consider that this is definitely a cross-border case. Let's start with Inka.
Well, I would say that if that entrepreneurial team can show to me that they also have serial, let's say, super angels in their kind of asset, their investors, that of course increases the confidence. So when they come and pitch, they can kind of provide evidence that, you know, high quality local investors are already involved. So
Yeah.
that's one great way. And of course, at the end of the day, the entrepreneurs and the, you know, the opportunity really counts. So how well they're executing and what kind of big global
Of course.
scalable problem they're solving.
Exactly.
So,
Okay, Kaushal, then.
apart from being global, I think, you know, also the entrepreneur should ensure that the local investor is on board. That,
Local
you know,
investor, yeah.
yeah, because the local investor should be also marketing along with the angel investor. They should be available on the investor calls, you know, because they have to be marketing the company too. It's in their interest also. So I think, you know, they have to prepare the local investors.
Very good. Good point. Carman, last.
So I think if a startup plan to have global investors, so one thing that is quite common nowadays is you have the company structure ready for this. So instead of have a local company entity and having all the investor come in as equity round, you could use the convertible note round so that investors from different countries, they can join in globally. And when you're ready to really have the equity round, you then figure out the proper company structure. So I have a lot of company, maybe they are originally a Hong Kong entity company, and every investor come in through the convertible note. So when they are ready for a Series A round, they build a US structure on top. So it's a US holding company because they want to raise the US VC money.
Exactly.
So this is much better, more efficient nowadays.
Very good. And last.
I think the one more stakeholder here is also important, and it is government. Because cross-border investment creates a tremendous, you know, FDI. So a lot of foreign direct investment comes in and also it brings in much smarter money into the ecosystem. So if there is a location where you don't have the entrepreneurial bug, I think bringing in outside investors, smart investors, can change the game, you know, because they will bring this global context. So it's for government also. We are working with various governments. We are in Nevada, we are in Florida, and we're work, you know, for the inward investment, and the cross-border angel group is one of the way you can play a role.
Very good. All right, so I think we're summing up where our time is up, but for the entrepreneurs to consider when validating cross-border as alternative, so globally minded, of course, the team, but if willing to take a lot of brains globally in the stake, then of course, the secondly, having the vertical and be prepared to place the company all around. Having the local representative investor, that's really important as the angels, once again, they're investing their own money and time. They want to be around with good guys and invest together with others. So having a good local representative is definitely in addition to having reported weekly. So let's give a big applause. Thank you very much for this interesting discussion, and let's talk more about cross-border investing. Thank you.